20th September 2024, we are going to discuss editorials from Business Standard, The Pioneer, Live Mint, even The Hindu also. First article, we will be discussing wealth of the data, how Indians should consume. We have 140 crore population in India, and if crores of data will be generated on everyday basis, if we correctly utilize that data, then we can make a lot of data driven definitions, data driven decisions. Those decisions can improve administration, those decisions can improve government functioning also. In this regard, article has been discussed. We will discuss this article in detail. There is a celebrated Sherlock Holmes quotes. You know Sherlock Holmes, there is on TV series based on Sherlock Holmes. This is a detective TV series basically. Without There is one quote basically in Sherlock Holmes: without data, you cannot make decisions. If you make such decision, that will be a huge mistake. So when you have the data, you should act according to data. Then it will help you to make in decisions. There is another similar kind of quote is there from Scandal of Bohemia. That is one movie kind of study in Scarlet. This is also gives same thing. So you should make decisions based on the data. But how we are following the data in the absence of the data? How can we make the decisions? Right? There are several discourses are there. Debate on inequality. When we discussed about inequality, basically we feel very bad because top 1% of the country making almost controlling 70 to 80% of the wealth. So with regard to inequality is a metric. This can be mapped to different sections of the population. Inequality in wealth, inequality in several other areas, inequality in education, inequality in poverty, inequality in women. There are many such inequalities are there. If you see wealth is one area where your blood will boil. Inequality in the distribution of income, this will be another area where we need to concern, right? We are always skeptical of estimations of wealth because there is a real estate, shares, many things are involved. A lot of people who tell many things about policy, they don't know about India much. Like many other country, we don't have official data on incomes. That is why, because income is believed to be unreliable. But we collect data on consumption expenditure. There is always one great exercise we are carrying out since 1915, that is called National Sample Survey Organization, NSSO. This carries out data on consumption expenditure pattern. So inequality in the distribution of consumption expenditure, this is lower than the income. But from this inequality data, we can come at something. That is, like we can come about one trend. There is a difference between these things such as census and survey. Census is basically enumeration of the population. So basically what author is telling is, if we correctly utilize the data, we can make data driven decisions. We will carry out in census, we will carry out based on sample. Suppose a sample is truly representative. Basically, suppose 100 people are there, 10 people are from poverty background, top 10 people are from highly money background, those who are having a lot of wealth. Between 20 to 90, they are having much money, but middle class family kind of thing. The survey will tell about many things. It will capture consumption expenditure, household consumption expenditure. These things are carried out through National Sample Survey Organization survey. But the trouble is, this household consumption expenditure we are not carrying out every year. If you see history, household consumption expenditure data, it is available once in 5 years. But until recently, it was available in 2011 and 12. But after that, we don't have that household consumption expenditure data. There is a lot of thing that is coming around inequality that was based on information 2011 and 12. And we are assuming that the inequality level in 2011-12 is the true inequality, true representation of India's today. But now, if you see household consumption expenditure data, 22-23, now it has become available. Whenever there is a new survey with improved and slightly different methodology, Questions are raised about comparability with earlier surveys. This should be a valid point, but we should not make mountain of the molehill. Basically, we should not make a lot of discussion here. There is a consistency checks that can be used. There are different measures of inequality. Like, what is the coefficient that is used for measuring the inequality? That is called Gini coefficient. If you see Gini coefficient basically it is a scale. It ranges from 0 to 1. 0 means you are poor, 1 means you are like good condition, rich. Between 2011 and 12 and 22-23 regarding this household consumption expenditure data, Gini coefficient is showing decline in inequality in India. That means well-being of the citizens are growing, and then wealth accumulation is happening even in middle class family also. Measured this way, there has been no increase in inequality. That means there is a decline in inequality according to these two surveys. But those are all things are facts. Inequality is a relative concept. Poverty is absolute one based on how much money you have. Those things can be discussed. We have poverty line. We have even household consumption expenditure data. These things are computed based on percentage of the population below poverty line. Like minimal consumption basket. Suppose say one basket of goods are there, how much we are consuming. These things are discussed. Even if you see this below poverty line BPL in these two surveys, 2011 and 12, 22-23, if you compare these two data, there is a decline in poverty level. This is also fact. Household consumption expenditure data, wealth and data of consumption expenditure pattern of households. Researchers, they have not yet begun exploring these in details. We have Prime Minister Economic Advisory Council. They made one paper on like what this household consumption expenditure data shows about changes in the food consumption. So this paper was even authored by Mudit Kapoor. There are several people are there. Now it is available on the Economic Advisory Council to Prime Minister. What they will do, this Economic Advisory Council, they will guide Prime Minister and the Ministry of Prime Minister to make a lot of data driven decisions. If you understand consumption pattern, you can make in that direction. We can even help RBI to control inflation also. But what about this research? What it has shown? Monthly per capita consumption expenditure, has increased throughout India, but increased more for rural India than urban India. There are variation across state, but overall, the message of rural prosperity is undeniable. Second thing, first time in independent India, the share of food in monthly consumption expenditure, this has declined below 50%. This is because it is primarily driven by decline in the importance of cereals. This was aided by free and subsidized wheat, rice provided in under various government schemes. We have public distribution system wherein wheat and rice, they have been provided in the PDS even at a slow cost also, because government is procuring them at MSPs, minimum support price, and then supplying through PDS and many other areas. This decline, this marked for reduction of 20% of the households. Their consumption has reduced, and so that monthly consumption expenditure has come down. This result has been increase in the dietary diversity. Free food means expenditure on cereals was saved. Money now could be spent on many other areas, fresh fruits, milk products, eggs, fish and meat. This which is a known phenomenon because there is improvement and development. But the trends in this household consumption expenditure survey 22-23, they are quite striking. Those things need to be understood in very details. Third thing, seasonality in the consumption of such items also declined. This is not just demand, there is also supply also. Demand and supply side, both side, that consumption pattern is declined. Suppose say you think of this infrastructure area, transportation, storage and supply chains. Fourth area what author talks about, one of the most remarkable findings is the examination of the micronutrient intake. For example, iron. Basically iron is very important for women. So there is an increase in this micronutrients intake. So iron intake improved in Bihar but not much in Rajasthan. So these micronutrients, they depend on cereals such as iron and zinc. They also suffered because cereal intake has declined. The average iron intake inversely related to prevalence of anemia. Basically, we were talking about women. Those who are having anemia, they might be having less iron intake. The more you have iron intake, less you will be having anemia and blood related issues. Despite several attempts by government to increase this iron intake, anemia indicators have not improved fast enough. This means this program for universal fortification of cereals, this is not the real answer. We need to see another area also. The policy designed to improve household dietary diversity, that might work better. Consider, like average intake. Then author tells about 84% of the average daily intake in is cereals in Rajasthan, 22% in Kerala. Fresh food contribute 40% of average intake in Kerala. So these vegetable and pulses, they are major contributors in Northeast. What author says is, if you formulate the policies on the basis of these aggregate behaviors, we can make a lot of mistakes. So the final message what author want to say is in a broader area. So beyond food consumption patterns, household consumption expenditure, this has wealth of data. Researchers yet to probe and understand the richness of this data. Immediate instantaneous reaction on this consumption inequality, poverty numbers, they are fine, they are good. But there is a thing that we need to look beyond all these things. We need to devise policy in such a manner. Economic Advisory Council to Prime Minister, they have to understand the data. They should look beyond this data. Instead of data driven decision making, they should go one step forward. They should consider future decision making in the policies. When you bring policies, it should help Indians also. The problem is this boring, painstaking research. Many don't taste for it. So we act like Sherlock Holmes quote. Then we will make a lot of errors. Like we discussed, if you don't make decisions based on the available data, then you are going to make mistake. That's what we are doing. So we should follow cut path, and then we should make decision based on the data. This is the article about. Next article we will see about fresh look of the water policy in India. You might have seen one area flooding takes place, another area severe water crisis. Cities such as Bengaluru, Madras, Mumbai, even Delhi, they are facing acute water shortages. In order to avoid all of them, what are all the measures that we need to take and we should take in order to avoid water crisis, and then how to devise a great policy, that is water policy, in order to save our water resources and water reservoirs. In 2019, Mehir Shah led committee, this was constituted this committee to draft this national water policy. They submitted their report in 2019, almost 5 years ago. The policy document, this has been in dust. This has been, they haven't taken any action on this policy document. They just took the document and they kept it somewhere. The policy kept under wraps, there are not good news. So there is a shift towards new thinking. There are several challenges. India also want to become Viksit Bharat, and India wants to become developed nation by 2047. Water will play a huge role in India's water vision 2047. For the last few years, India witnessing a great war between contrasting situations about water governance. The war is between colonial engineering paradigm rooted in structural interventions over water bodies to increase the supply, even more comprehensive and holistic water governance situation that is socially and ecologically informed. So we want to move from colonial mindset to now present mindset, wherein community engagement could help in gathering holistic water governance. This holistic paradigm, this is known as integrated water resource management. This holistic paradigm, you should not interpret it as discussed and detailed by Global Water Partnership, but this holistic paradigm is a set of guidelines. This will give a broad contours of the government paradigms, and this is based on integrated interdisciplinary and transdisciplinary knowledge that talks about approach towards water saving. This integrated water resource managing, this includes various natural social sciences including decision sciences, with popular water, energy, food, All these things will be mixed, and then all these things will be brought under control. We want to move from traditional supply augmentation plans to innovative models of water demand management. We have been managing these things for almost past four decades. European Union and United States, they recognized detrimental effect of extensive dam construction, structural interventions. These dam construction and structural intervention, they caused irreversible damages to river basin ecosystem. If you see in India itself, construction of dams, they will stop natural flow of water. All the aquatic ecosystem will be suffered. When aquatic ecosystem will be suffered, we as a part of ecosystem, we will also suffer. So the entire biosphere will be damaged because of these structural measures. So author tells about decommissioning of the dams. The adoption of this water framework directive by European Union 2000, this led to decommissioning of approximately 500 dams in France, Sweden, Finland, Spain and United Kingdom. Why they wanted to decommission? They wanted to restore natural hydrological flow regimes. United States, they have almost constructed more number of dams between 1920 and 1960. They decommissioned almost 1,000 of such structures in recent decades. They want to rejuvenate basin ecosystem. There are alternative approaches to manage water. They are implemented worldwide through market development in Chile and Australia. This will enable farmers to enhance water productivity, contribute sustainable water management. In 2019, if you see, water derivative trading commenced in California to mitigate water risk. Basically, they are starting water trading. If you see in India, India's water technocracy, basically this has opposed global call for changing emerging new paradigm. The situation is changing. Global world, they are decommissioning dams, but we are opposing it. If you see last decade, we have witnessed several specific initiatives to guide nation towards comprehensive water governance. In 2016, we have formed two bills, Draft National Water Framework Bill 2016 and the Model Bill for Conservation, Protection, Regulation, Management of Groundwater. Both of bills were put up in discussion for year 2016. Another 2016 report, 21st Century Institutional Architecture for India's Water Reforms. This recommended dissolution of the Central Water Commission, CGWB, Council for Groundwater Body. By dissolution of all these things, we wanted to form National Water Commission. So this was hugely criticized by our techno people, those who are dealing with water, basically hydro technocracy. The National Water Policy 2020, this is the latest document. As per several newspaper articles and interviews by Mihir Shah, this seems the latest addition for call for change. So we want to move towards water governance. What about this new water policy? If you see in India, problems in India, they have been due to reliance on colonial engineering positions, paradigm. The interstate Kaveri conflicts, Bihar flooding, they caused Farakka bridge in West Bengal, the unsustainable hydropower on the Himalayas, feared ecological fallout from river interlinking projects because of there are several issues could be faced because of these structural interventions over water network. So without thinking situations, without thinking their consequences, we are building all these things. They may cause a lot huge. If you see in Himalaya, the hydropower projects in Himalaya, they are huge threat to our ecological system. We have discussed several times. Kaveri conflicts, always there will be conflict between Karnataka and Tamil Nadu region. Bihar also, there was a flooding because of this Farakka barrage. So several such situations. So how this integrated approach need to be devised? So in order to avoid all these things, we need to have integrated system that will bring water governance. That should be the need of our. So even recently, Observer Research Foundation, they published a good article. They have given several solutions. First thing, water should be understood as a dynamic component that should be part of ecological and hydrological cycle, rather than this is just stock resource that to be exploited according to our needs and our convenience, basically human needs and convenience. Water has intrinsic value because it has various uses. Water we are using for agriculture, water we are using for drinking water, water we are using for bathing, water we are using for food. There are several such intrinsic values are there. And then water apart from our needs, there are several ecological functions are there. So they all need to be recognized and they are must be integrated with ecosystem. Consequently, water we should view it as economic asset with broader ecological and economic framework. And it should necessitate establishment of appropriate institutional mechanisms to recognize the value of the water. We need to make social consideration so that it should be affordable, accessible, and then those who are not having water, equity also need to be maintained and it should not be compromised. River basin, this should be taken as a fundamental unit of governance. River basins, wherever there is encroachment are there, we need to avoid all of them. Fifth point, increasing water supply is not only essential for sustained economic growth or food security, we should focus more towards adopting water saving methods. There is a comprehensive assessment of water development projects that is very, very necessary because integrity of the hydrological cycle will only be maintained by this comprehensive assessment. Transparent and interdisciplinary knowledge, this should included with engineering and other natural sciences along with economics and social sciences. This must be clear. Droughts and the floods, they are two extreme events. So we shouldn't treat them as like they are separate part. We should take them as integral component of the global eco-hydrological cycle. Gender consideration, they are very critical. Even they are more emphasized in one statement called Dublin. They told women play a central role in provision, management, and safeguarding water. All these points they indicate a mark towards contours of the state of engineering paradigm. We need modified with our knowledge accruals and the need of the time. What is knowledge accrual? Over a period of time, we will understand what future needs, and then we need to change according to that. That is called knowledge accrual. So water should also be devised like that. Old methods, old colonial legacies, if we follow those things, we are going to demolish our water reservoir. So it is not late. We should act the biggest future challenge for India. That is, we should ensure water security for human and environmental security. So this is the article about fresh look at water policy. Next article we will discuss about same. This is you can discuss on international relations between India and Pakistan. This is about Indus River water sharing agreement. India has sent fourth notice to Pakistan in January 2023. Even India escalated demand for renegotiating of the 1960 Indus Water Treaty. Even India called all meetings of the Permanent Indus Commission until the Pakistan agrees to sit on the table for talks. India demanded last year, there was a jam in the process. Now, once held up for internationally model template for water sharing agreements. So this Indus Water Treaty, this was considered as one of the water template agreement, water sharing agreement across the world. Now it has been, just put it aside, just is parked. This is jammed. Even in the new century, the tenets of the treaty, they are in good condition. India was not able to win two major disputes by adhering to process laid out, even including this Baglighar Dam project in 2007. Another dispute is over allegations India was interfering with Pakistan in Neelam project in 2013. So these two things we couldn't win out. The issue how to proceed on dispute resolutions for Kishan Ganga and Ratle projects. This is also even backfired in 2016. This because Pakistan escalated the disputes, because if we look at the neutral way, even they demanded permanent court of arbitration in these matters. In a weakness movement, we are also come with great regret. World Bank decided to allow two parallel process for dispute mechanism, that should run at the same time. To even make matter at the worst, Pakistan turned its back on neutral experts proceeding. They didn't attend the meeting. India boycotted this permanent court of arbitration, basically that happened at the Hague. Hague is the place where International Court of Justice is lying. Pakistan always been cold to India's notices because they are not responding and negotiating with the treaty. Even decision by Prime Minister Modi's government to stop this permanent Indus Commission meeting, this has put future of the prospects in great danger. Unlike the previous decades, when Indus Water Treaty was like considered off limits for this politics, leaders on both sides, they are now not sitting on the table because of their own rhetorics. India, Pakistan is always Pakistan. They won't come on the table. They don't want to discuss. Without discussion, we cannot proceed forward. Even Prime Minister Narendra Modi in 2016 gave apt statement, blood and water. Basically, he told, हिंदी में बताता हूँ, पानी और खून एक साथ नहीं बहता है. That means blood and water cannot flow together. We cannot allow blood to Pakistan because Pakistan is a terror soil. They promote terrorists, they promote terrorism. We cannot share water with these things. So basically, author says this is one of the egregious example that cause a lot of issues. But we need to see Pakistan and India, there is a bilateral relationship. Now it is not in good condition. Pakistan, there is a ceasefire agreement in 2021, but after that we don't have any no political engagement on trade. Even there are several terror attacks are happening in Indian army personnel on recent days. It may be possible that there might be reopening of the treaty talks, but concluding any agreement will be much difficult. These discussion will keep going, but we won't come at permanent decisions. So now all eyes are focused on New Delhi, how it will respond to Pakistan's invitation of the SCO heads of the government meeting in October 15-16. This kind of opening, this will present opportunity talk for India. This could be a way forward where India can put forward our issues. No doubt, there are several issues are there in the new ages, climate change, need for renewable energy, hydropower options. But this Indus water necessitates this reopening of 64 old year treaty. This is an old treaty. We need to discuss them. How it will be done, with resolving current disputes. This will decide whether two countries they can save the treaty. This is always referred as one bright spot. Because this was discussed by very depressing world picture by US President Eisenhower. So we need to sit and discuss. This is the article about. Today we discussed 3 articles. Thank you very much for discussion.